Now, let's go to stage 2. Okay, stage 1, perimenopause. Stage 2, we are entering into menopause. So next, menopause is when the transition lands. It's officially 12 months without a period. That's what criteria is. Most often it happens around age 51, as I mentioned, but mid-40s to mid-50s is still normal. In perimenopause, the fat started moving from the hips and the thighs towards the waist. Now in menopause, your hormones don't keep swinging. They drop and they stay low. And the belly fat that began rising in perimenopause becomes your body's default storage site. We start to get stuck there. Not only frustrating, but it's also dangerous. The visceral fat packed around the liver, the intestines, and the heart. It doesn't just sit there quietly. It dumps toxins and toxic fatty acids straight into the liver, and it releases inflammatory signals that can drive your insulin resistance to get worse, increase your blood sugar, and create artery damage. Now, with fat cells themselves produce estrogen. In a study of newly menopausal healthy women over a 4-year period, women showed an increase in weight and body fat, primarily as visceral fat, which coincided with a drop in estradiol and a decrease in physical activity and energy expenditure. Your body is releasing hormones. The fat is releasing hormones, which then leads to more fat, which then releases more hormones, which then leads to more fat. Here's the sneaky part. The scale might not even warn you, but having less muscle and more visceral fat means you could weigh the same, but you are now way more fat than you are muscle, even without a big change in your weight. For the thin person, have just as much visceral fat in their belly as an overweight individual. Just because you're skinny doesn't make you healthy. We don't want just lighter caskets. We want healthier human beings. So what do? Food is the first focus. Starting with that, each meal you eat is either adding to your belly or helping you get rid of it. That's why the first step is simple. Get rid of the foods that are working against you and making visceral fat worse. You know, I use the acronym CRAP to represent all the food that you should stay away from. Narrowed down, it's broken down into 1, carbohydrates and sugars that are refined, white breads, white pastas, white pastries, candies, sodas, fruit juices. 2, rancid oils, canolas, soybean oils, corn, cottonseed, sunflower, safflower, anything fried in those oils, especially fried because it adds aging to the oil, which ages your cells faster. The A is artificial ingredients, especially sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose, food dyes, preservatives, MSGs. A lot of those also introduce xenoestrogens. We've really got to pay attention to quality of food. Finally, processed proteins of deli meats or hot dogs or sausages or bacons or meats with hormones and antibiotics added. Basically anything that humans have overly processed, overly refined, or tampered with. If it's not a real quality, healthy food, it's probably making the visceral fat worse. Of what to eat and what not to eat and burning fat during menopause, it is broken down in the book. It is our challenge eating plan. And it includes things like clean proteins, healthy fats, and a focus on fiber. When menopause hits, fiber goes from nice to have to a non-negotiable. One study showed a direct link between more daily fiber and less belly fat over time. Now, the problem is a lot of people are in a deficit of it. The average American adult only eats about 15 grams of fiber per day. It's roughly half of what's recommended. So increase your fiber, your vegetables, your seeds, low sugar fruits, legumes and beans. And then we want to get those healthy fats in and especially stay away from the unhealthy fats. Your brain is made of it. So if there's brain fog and there's irritability, we've got to feed it healthy fats. So nutrients to take during menopause. Following that eating plan, one of the top nutrients you can add in to help support the symptoms, the flashes, the changes that are going on during menopause is chasteberry. There's solid research breaking down chasteberry and its support of menopausal and abnormal period times. So this can be used earlier in life, women, but especially during this menopausal period. Black cohosh is another helpful remedy that relieves menopausal symptoms by up to 26%. Now, part 3. Post menopausal. Let's touch on this.